Hey, everybody. Welcome to What Drives Us, episode 423 for August 4th, 2021. I think my name is Russell Frost, and at one time, I actually was a host on this show. Welcome back. We took a week off. It was my birthday last Wednesday. I apologize.
Mine was Thursday.
Your birthday's the day after mine, Kacey?
Yeah.
I had no idea my roommate's birthday is the 29th, too.
Yeah, and then Patrick had one, right?
I did, yep. I'm also a year older from last time we were here.
There's a lot.
Everybody's having a birthday.
I usually won't go down this path, but there's a lot of fucking Leo energy going on here. I had no idea. Wow.
So what was 9 months before last week?
Cold.
Cold winter.
It was pretty cold, yeah.
Right. Like him, I was born in Los Angeles.
See, same. So I was in Southern California as well, so I don't know.
So
that the cold made a difference.
My mom was just being my mom. That's all. So let's introduce everybody and get this show on the road before I commit any more horrible, tragic personal errors. My co-host and wonderful friend in Northern California, the only place on this screen where it's hotter than where I am right now, Georgia McKenzie.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And happy birthday, Russell and Kacey.
And Patrick. And Patrick. Should we all say how old we are? Or is that none of anyone's business?
No, let's keep it a mystery.
You're all a year older.
Yeah.
Last time.
Yes, you're all a year older.
Yeah, I'm really old. Let's just put it that way. This is a major milestone. Like all of a sudden I'm getting free breakfast at Denny's. That's all I'm going to say.
I figured that the reason why you decided to take your birthday off was because you didn't want to sit through an entire night of ancient Russell jokes.
There's that. I already get like old jokes, like because I'm probably 20 years older than the next oldest person at work. And that person's 20 years older than most everybody else. So it's a very young crew. Yeah. And I already get like the dad jokes, and that's not so good. Anyway, who cares? No one cares. Next to my friend Georgia McKenzie is my friend, famous for his Supercharger reviews, Mr. Kacey Cream.
How's it going? So on my birthday, I did another 3 of those, and eventually I'll publish them. I did get a new software update. I'm working on another deep dive. It's not the one with all the cool stuff that's been rumored to be going around the web. I got the new game, and that was it. But minor fixes is more than you would ever expect. So,
Kacey, I do have to ask, if you do a Supercharger video and don't post it, does it actually exist?
That's a deep cutting question right there. So.
Is it? I didn't think I was capable of such.
We'll have to wait till 420 to discuss that one.
It's 6:05 here, my friend. Next up, my friend in Canada. He is the host and founder of the Tesla Life Show, which you might watch on Wednesdays preceding this show, as long as you come here next. Thank you, Mr. Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. And I wasn't expecting that tree falling in the forest analogy so early in the show.
I'm going to work at the trolley problem at some point later on as well. So
remember, there's no math in this show.
I was an art major. Patrick's the engineer. And speaking of the engineer, our friend in the Pacific Northwest, Mr. Patrick Connor.
Hello. We got 92 degrees right now up here. So I don't know how hot it is down there, Russell, but this is weird Oregon weather.
Wow, you beat me. Yeah, I think it's probably 86 right now.
Yeah, 76 here. We've had a seasonably cool week.
It's me and you, Pat. We're both in the 90s. I'm only a degree or two above you.
82. It's 82 right now in Escondido. And last and certainly not least,
from Escondido.
No, I'm in Escondido. She's up north, somewhere in Northern California.
There's a song from an artist.
We're gonna get a strike, Kacey.
It's not lyrics. It was a live performance.
Yeah, there's a song called, I don't want to know.
No, it's not.
Anyway, our friend in Boulder, Colorado, the founder of Boulder Hybrids, Mr. Paul Guzik.
Hey. Hello, everybody.
Hey, Paul. Thank you so much. Oh, look, there's the chat. Just still getting used to the new controls on the new live app that allows us to have a chat and all sorts of stuff. So anyway, now that I've introduced everybody, let's get this show on the road. First story this week, we're going to go to Mr. Patrick Connor, who has an interesting story that, as far as I'm concerned, started as a joke during an Iron Man movie. Go.
Yeah. Here's an idea that might take off.
Oh!
Yes. So there is an eVTOL company called Lilium, and they plan to sell 220 of their vehicles to a Brazilian airliner called Azul.
Are you going to explain VTOL?
Yes. So eVTOL is electric vertical takeoff and landing.
There you go.
So they're not quadcopters. They look more like regular planes, and but with a dozen props on each side, and the front and the back. So they've got all kinds of little props instead of one big prop. And
interesting.
Yeah. So supposedly,
like vertical Ubers, or
yes. So the current version seats 5. They are working on a version that seats 7. They go 175 miles an hour and have a range of 155 miles. So, this isn't going to be for any international travel by any means. But if it replaces some helicopters that are gas-powered, that sounds like a great idea. Airlines are being pushed to have low carbon solutions, and this is one way to get around where you're not emitting when you do it. So it'll be interesting to see. This doesn't seem like it's going to be a big, scalable solution, but if they can make, they're going to put these airlines.
I've got a picture. If you
yeah,
want to
cool.
show it,
Yeah,
Russell.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Well, you gotta
It's a pretty cool visual. So.
Oh, I have to?
Yeah, it's your show.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. I was trying to get it. I didn't realize I had to invite another guest in. There we go. It's a cool looking plane.
It is.
So they're going to put these little VTOL takeoff and landing spots around the country, and by 2025, and hopefully have this up and running. The nice thing is you don't need a real big airport. You don't need a runway. You just kind of need a flat pad.
Which is actually a really genuinely good thing, especially for a small kind of commuter regional sort of thing. What we affectionately refer to as puddle jumpers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say that, as Patrick mentioned, it's not really scalable, 5 or 7 people, not a big dent in airline. But I think the difference here is once these start to be made, there'll be competition. There'll be others that make it. There'll be innovations, and the progress begins. So this may just be the kickoff point for these type of vehicles and taking on more passengers.
I like 2 things about it. The first, obviously, is that it's electric. The second is that since it is, expensive, it's going to be operated by professionals, and I won't have to worry about, a neighbor who doesn't maintain their vehicle dropping pieces on me as I go out to get the mail or move the garbage.
Right. Yeah. The article says roughly $4.5 million each.
Nice.
Yeah.
So actually, that's quite affordable for as they said, they're major airline partners.
It seems like at selling 5 or 7 seats at a pop, it's going to take a while to recoup millions of dollars.
Right, but their electric costs are going to cost a lot less than their jet fuel. So they might be able to use this.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to talk to one of the engineers on this. If what the reason was they went with a bunch of small props as opposed to larger props.
So NASA did a study on this, and they actually, this is NASA technology right here. The bunch of small props.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't remember what the outcome is, but obviously that's what they picked. Definitely a lot of redundancy. It was more efficient. They could make the wing thinner, and I think those are what I remember about it. But there was a lot of good in this design coming from the NASA study.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is that a function just of efficiency, or does that help with the VTOL aspect?
That's a good question.
Yeah, it looks like they have to be able to rotate down to take off. So, and then once they get into the air, you angle them forward. Yeah, and that's you guys said this is just one of many companies that is looking into this, and they definitely have competition. I expect by 2040, for example, this will be commonplace. Batteries will have advanced so far by then that we'll have much longer ranges, much bigger, more payload. It'll be so. This is just the first step.
True.
Yeah,
And then aircraft is one place where hydrogen actually can make sense because it gives you a weight savings for longer distance.
Yeah, and you know where you're going to be to fuel it up.
Yeah, that part.
Yeah,
right. You're going point to point. So yeah, no, I agree with that. With all the inappropriateness of hydrogen, that's another good potential use for a fuel cell. Excellent. Well, let's move on to something not as excellent for mass transit. Georgia has a story that comes from Florida.
Florida
Well,
man.
today, or more like last week in Florida. So this is Tampa Bay, and State Senator, let me see, Jeff Brandes says he will try once again to propose legislation to dismantle the Tampa Bay Transit Agency.
You better, Florida. Pick representatives that aren't like trying to kill you.
I'm going to say something that
Florida's really bad at that.
Surprised at. I'm kind of agreeing with him. But here's why. This is an organization that cannot put together a quorum to have a meeting. So in almost 6 months, they've met twice. February and April. That's it.
Well, there's a pandemic. Do they have an online option?
They don't. They're not holding any meetings at all. When you hold a meeting as a government agency, you have to post it online. They don't have anything scheduled. They're not meeting via Zoom. So they're basically not meeting at all. Because they cannot put together a quorum and act on issues in front of themselves, they have managed to delay progress on a 41-mile bus rapid transit line. They can't settle the alternative service for Hillsborough County Hillsborough Area Regional Transit Agency, mixing with the Tampa Bay Transit Agency that they need to work on. I mean, they're 6 months behind schedule on the transit alternative. They were supposed to be done in January. Now they're 7 months because we've rolled into a whole other month.
So
Ron
who's doing
DeSantis,
their
now,
work?
Granted, this is not a man whose judgment I would trust, has already vetoed their authority to take their $1.5 million appropriation from the budget. So now my problem, I think that this current iteration of the Tampa Bay Transit Agency is not a good one. It does not seem to me that these people are actually putting in the work they need to do. And when you sign up to be a member of local government, even working on a commission, it is a commitment of time and energy. If you are not prepared to do that, then haul your ass out of there, because you actually holding that seat means that when you don't show up, they cannot form a legislatively necessary quorum to conduct business. They even tried to do that, and people would not show up for that meeting. They're considering changing the bylaws, but they have to have a meeting with quorum to change the bylaws. So they're in a catch-22 situation of being very ineffective on a very necessary thing. The only reason why I would not side with Mr. Brandes is because this is a Republican. This is an ultra-conservative Republican in Florida. If you lose your transit agency, you may not get it back again without a complete regime change in Florida. And yes, I did use the term regime, and I meant it.
Well, one of the strategies is to take an agency, make it ineffective by having people on there that don't show up and do things, and then cause the problem, and then point out the
See,
problem.
it didn't work.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, see, it doesn't go. They make what was the old line? Republicans run on government doesn't work, and then they get elected in office to prove it.
Yep.
And based on my experience with a very, very, very local union election here, and the scuttlebutt I've heard coming out of that election, it is not. It is actually not necessarily too far off the point to say that enough people were appointed and placed in with the entire point of making the agency ineffective. Which is why you got to be careful who you put in the power, man, because shit does roll downhill, and sometimes you got elephants up there cropping on you. This is a mess, and it's so necessary to have good public transportation and have publication standards, because many of the areas where people who are forced out of more urban areas are, they have to go move to further out areas, and then they have to commute to work. That essential worker class that we've been depending on, they're moving further and further out because closer to their jobs and to set hubs of the economy, it's just too costly. And now, if they lose this agency, they might lose their own transit, their cheaper methods of transit. And I mean, I took the bus into my job today and took the bus back home, and it's tiring, but sometimes it's like it was a nice, calm, restful way to get to work on a very crowded highway system where I just sit back and read. We need to do something. Well, Florida needs to do something. Sorry,
fall into the sea.
Yeah. As a former Hillsborough County resident, yeah, Tampa's got issues.
Tampa does.
Like all of Florida. And Hillsborough County is oddly one of the more sane counties in Florida, just to give you an idea of how bad Florida is. Right next door in Polk County, fully crazy people at every level. Anyway.
I was in Alachua County for a few years. They seem to have it a little bit better together, but the state as a whole, they need some work.
It's, yeah. I mean, it's, yeah. Mass transit is for them, not for us. Right?
That, well, I'm going to say as a Californian, especially one that lives on the edge of rural California, that's an attitude that is not unique to Florida. There's a NIMBYism that we kind of need to deal with about mass transit. And there are areas out here in YOLO where I'm very thankful for our local Indian tribes who actually funds the bus services that run between their casino and out in Cache Creek and towards Sacramento, because they help people get to work, and they make that investment in the community. So thanks a lot.
Wait a minute. So you mean investing in your community can actually give you a benefit?
Oh, please.
Oddly enough, it means that workers can get to work cheaply and easily, and it makes them more likely to work for you, like paying them fairly does.
And then when they're done, they can go gamble in your casino.
Hopefully not. No.
Well, I mean, yeah, that part for no, yeah, but I mean,
you guys with your commie socialist crap. Okay, enough.
I don't know if that label fully.
I want to go to Mark Coughlin for This Week in Tesla and some pure capitalism gold.
Absolutely.
In a socialist country.
Corporate socialism,
right?
And rugged capitalism for the poor.
And where the hospitals are free. Yes.
Oh, wait, that's you. That's nice, isn't it? I wish we could have some of that.
Touching upon a few Tesla stories that came up this week, J.B. Straubel, who left Tesla some time ago, started a company called Redwood Materials. And Redwood is a recycler of all things battery. They had a second or third round investment of $700 million. And what was interesting was that the people that were involved with the early investment, they all reinvested in this particular round. So obviously the initial investors are pleased with the direction of the company, where it's going, and they opted in as people that, you know, re-table up that they are going to go along with what the company has planned. So what's really interesting with JB's, I guess what he's aiming at here is that he's not just recycling car batteries. He's actually reaching out, and he wants everyone that's got that old cell phone battery been sitting in their kitchen storage drawer now for 7 years. He wants all batteries to be recycled. So they're developing programs that aren't dependent on what the battery looks like or where it came from. As long as it's a recycle, like a lithium type battery that can be recharged, they are looking into ways that can reintroduce that into its core components, its core minerals, so that it can be put back into the system and used again. So hats off to Redwood Materials as they continue their development. Next story, wanted to touch upon superchargers. Recently, as of last week, Tesla had indicated, Elon himself indicated, that the superchargers were going to be opened to other cars. So they're going to be allowed for, and he didn't specify exactly who, but there are going to be allowances made that anyone with an electric car that has the ability to charge at X speed will be allowed to charge at a Tesla charger using the Tesla app to indicate what charger they're at, press a few buttons, and then it would pull from the account that you probably had to set up with Tesla. You may require an adapter that would plug into the supercharger here in the US or Canada so that it would fit into your car. But one of the reasons that became clear as to why they did this was the large US infrastructure bill that looks like it's going to pass at some point in the near future, because they've allocated a lot of funds to the EV infrastructure of chargers across the country. So it looks that by Tesla allowing others to charge at their superchargers, they will be able to partake in some of the funds that are going to be allocated to
it's all about the Benjamins
movement. So definitely makes sense that they wanted to partake in that. And it looks like that's one of the major reasons that Tesla has opened up its supercharger network recently. So not a big surprise.
Elon making it rain, baby.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, I think everybody here agrees, whatever they think of Tesla, they do have a great charging infrastructure that's pretty damn reliable, pretty damn everywhere it needs to be. And if other car companies can piggyback on that, that's going to benefit the whole EV industry.
Yep.
And Tesla.
Well, and the customers and the air and the environment.
Yeah. Now, the only downside is, sadly, none of those things are solar powered or super
not none.
Oh,
very
God.
few.
A very small amount, but guess
Although,
what? All the other EV chargers are in the exact same boat.
They are. Also, the Tesla Energy Network puts in more solar power than the supercharger network takes out of the system. So
yeah, what car company sold more solar panels than Tesla? Name one.
That part.
Sunrun.
I said what car?
They're not a car company.
Tesla isn't a car company. What are you, like a legacy dinosaur? Tesla's a software company. You need
technology
to go,
company.
sir. Yeah, they're a technology company.
And last story I'm going to touch upon is Revell. Remember this story from a few months ago? Revell
we ranted.
was a company. It's a car sharing company, actually more of a taxi company, because they own their own vehicles. They employ drivers, and they bought a fleet of 50 Model Ys. They have gotten medallions from the New York Taxi and Limousine Commission to roam the streets of New York City, picking up fares. And just before those cars started to go into service, I believe it was May the 1st, they were supposed to roll into service, the commission decided to pull their medallions from the company. And a big fight ensued about the commission saying there's too many taxis and limousines on the road at this point. They're going to back it off and want less vehicles for less congestion within the city. And so there, Revell was sitting with 50 brand new Model Ys, completely modified for the streets of New York, and none of them could be used. So that battle went on for a couple months, back and forth. There were PR pieces done in many different web blogs and such about the pros and cons of what was going on. But thankfully, it did get worked out. And just recently, the medallions were given back to Revell, and those Model Ys, all 50 of them, are now able to start their service within New York City. And the COO of the company was just talking recently on a particular blog about how the introduction of this fleet of electric vehicles on New York streets is going to propel electric vehicles. And I, for one, have to say that I believe he's right. The more people that get exposed to EVs in their regular daily life, the more it's going to push those people towards a cleaner future. Well, they will want not only to rent an EV for driving around, but if they have an opportunity to purchase a car, they'll remember that experience, and a lot of them will move into an electric vehicle themselves. So I have to say that that's absolutely right. I've seen it happen many times in my own life. Once a person gets exposed to the technology, understands how fun it is to drive, how quick it is, the different feeling, the regen, watching how that your fuel bill gets cut by 75% or more, all of that rolls into people starting to examine what they're going to buy for their next car, and a lot of them will move over to electric. And as we've seen in our organization here, the Waterloo Region EVA, once a person buys an EV, they tend to never go back. So their next purchase will be an EV, and it just spreads organically from that person to their family, to their friends.
It will be a harder drug the next time.
Exactly.
And there was an element of compromise in that if they want to go beyond the 50 that were pre-authorized, they will have to replace existing medallioned vehicles, be they gas, hybrid, or whatever. Say one gets into an incident, and they just replace their existing Model Y even.
But the important thing is that those 50 Model Ys are all on the roads. They can't be used. So they didn't have to mothball brand new vehicles that they bought to roam the streets of New York City. They're going to be free to do so.
Yeah, and I like your point, Mark. A taxi is not a gentle use case for a vehicle, right? So if you get in this and you thought that electrics were just short-range neighborhood vehicles, and you start talking to the cabbie and saying, "Hey, you really drive this all day?" Yeah, exactly. Then, if he says, "Yeah, I charge up at lunch, and I take a dinner break. I charge up in the afternoon, and it just keeps going." That's going to be eye-opening for a lot of people, I think.
And I don't have to get it serviced as often.
Exactly. And Revell put in a massive bank of EV chargers. I want to say it was 15 or 25, even 50 Chatamo CCS combo units to take care of these cars.
Yeah, at their depot. Yeah.
At their depot, yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So with that, if you
and we only had 5 drinks for the This Week in Tesla from Russell.
So far.
I wasn't even on the show.
Yep.
Thanks, Hockey Dick.
What do you mean? Only 5 drinks. I don't get it. I wasn't even there.
Look at the chat.
Oh,
No. For this week, this segment of Tesla, yeah.
And with that, if you'd like to hear more Tesla news, please feel free to subscribe to the Tesla Life on YouTube or follow us through the week on our Twitter feed, The Tesla Life. And with that, back to Russell.
Thank you, Mark. And just keep in mind, everything Mark said is absolutely false. None of it is true. Drink a lot. Just finish it. Just down it. No, you know what? I did want to. I do one thing, and I guess it was because I sent Mark some pictures of a supercharger they're building here, and I did a lot of reading about, why Tesla could be doing it. And I think it's obvious, and what Mark said, it helps makes their network larger and more robust. And given the federal subsidies, it could be a great revenue stream for Tesla, and it could be a secondary revenue stream, not even looking at the federal subsidies, from people actually paying to charge their electric cars on the largest privately owned electric vehicle charging network. It could be a very good thing. The question is when and how, because we've heard a lot of talk from a certain company CEO about things that were going to happen with the supercharger network that haven't. And that's what I want to see. I want to see this happen because I think it would be a good thing for EVs in general. That's all. Is that a drink?
I have a feeling that the federal government, in order for them to qualify for infrastructure funds, will have a number of guidelines placed out, and that any group that's going to try to collect those funds are going to have to meet those goals before they go forward. So I wouldn't think that it would just be an open invitation for anyone to try. They're definitely going to have to achieve some goals.
The chat room has the answer. It'll happen in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Derek, and Lucky Day.
There you go. Let's go to our next story. Mr. Kacey Green has, sort of two-ish stories about one of our favorite electric car companies.
Speaking of CEOs that make promises, we've got our friends at Rivian talking about opening their second and third factories, one in the US and one in the UK. They're really, really late on the consumer vehicles, and I would wager that they are probably also late on the Amazon vehicles, except that, only Amazon really knows what the contract is with that. Amazon and Rivian, of course. But most of the sentiment I've seen around this news has been, why don't you make a car and make sure that you know how your first factory works, and then you can do like Tesla and open multiple factories afterwards. I would understand securing the land, but I tend to kind of agree with them. It's like, what do you need extra factories for until somebody is receiving your cars? I don't mean the demo units for Amazon to make sure it fits their actual use case. I mean actual Rivian vans making it out to Amazon, or like my buddy getting his R1T, like he's been waiting on since June now. I like the company, and I would like to see them succeed, but they've been around for over a decade, and nobody's driving their stuff around outside of the company or their investors.
It's hard to start a car company.
I understand.
Yeah.
But why start two more factories before your first one does anything?
Why not?
The money.
What? Isn't it, okay, Kacey, isn't this kind of a double standard?
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, you've got another electric car company that makes a lot of promises that
opening
we're still waiting for, and is building a lot of factories all over the place. Now, are they selling cars? Yes.
That part.
Yay. But so what? In other words, if they have the money, if this is the right thing for them to do, why are we looking at it as? I mean, I'm not really clear.
I'm understanding the frustration from their waiting customers, because in the case of Tesla, they're sold out for a lot of their models through the end of the year, and so it makes sense that they need more capacity to deal with it. And so with Tesla and Amazon, they were actually producing product, delivering services before they started their mega expansion, and they dumped all their profits into expansion. I get that, but they had something you could buy. Right now, it's not the case at Rivian, and I'm kind of commiserating with the pre-orders. It's like, that's great. You got into the factory. Is it going to help me get my truck any sooner? And the answer is no.
Yeah, it just feels a little weird to be investing in factories when you haven't gotten one yet.
Yeah. Now, once that one is churning out and it's running at max, and you've proven what your basic design plan is, I mean, because Elon already said, you can't copy and paste. I maybe not for him, but I bet you that there are some companies that can copy and paste. So then once you've got one working, you can then take what works and put it in those other factories.
Yeah, I mean,
securing the land for cheap, I get, but building the factories, I don't get.
Let's be clear. When it comes to manufacturing, Elon's not the best source.
He's not the best success, I should say.
Yeah, fine.
but he does have experience in it, and
well, if negative experience is experience, and it is, yes.
Yeah.
I'm
Nikola,
not really sure why, and it usually comes from Tesla partisans, why this is like some horrible sign for Rivian. It seems to me like, yeah, it's
I'm
aggressive.
not saying it's horrible. I'm saying it looks bad. I get why they're doing it. I mean, I would probably do the same too. Like Hakaday said, use Wall Street's investment rather than your profits. But it does look like Nikola when you're sitting there waiting for it.
No. It's totally different. See that, but that's the sort of conflation, like saying that Rivian's like Nikola.
I'm not. I'm saying it as somebody who's waiting in line for your truck that was supposed to be here 3 months ago. It must be frustrating.
God, imagine all of the Tesla owners that have waited months for their cars. Did that mean that Tesla wasn't being?
Well, at least Tesla was putting out cars. But
right.
Yes, they were.
I would still look at Rivian's situation and say, let them do what they want.
I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm just saying the optics are bad.
The optics may look bad, but you know what? They're weighing that in their case, it's going to be better for them. So
I keep waiting for Patrick to say something like, well, if they can get the money, they should do it. Because I feel like that's what he would say if it was a different company.
Well,
I said that for Rivian. Yeah, when you said, I did say that earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, they've got the cash. They have the investments. They should absolutely think about. Yes, they should be delivering vehicles as soon as they can, and I'm sure they're absolutely working hard on that. But that doesn't mean that you don't expand when you have the opportunity and you have the funds. They're thinking about what are they going to be delivering in 5 years. That means you have to start building these other factories now because they have their truck, they have an SUV, they have a van that they've just announced. They just registered for other trademarks. So yeah, they absolutely should be expanding and building these factories. And I agree, it looks bad. If you want your truck, you'd be like, stop wasting time doing other stuff. Just work on my truck and do nothing else. I get that, but no.
Well, they can still build the walls to the factory and stuff.
The construction person working on the factory isn't
building your truck.
He's not taken away from building your motor.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the same thing we say with Tesla and fart mode. It's like you can't get the self-driving, but you get time for fart mode. Well, hopefully the fart mode guy isn't programming my car to drive down the street.
Yeah, you hope.
Same guy.
I don't know. Yeah, well, Hockey Day has a point. Maybe these factories are just for Amazon trucks, but
I'm sure Amazon would love that.
I don't know. For me, I feel like if you're overextending and you're still not putting out a commercial truck that's more readily available.
But if the bankers are still willing to write the checks, take the money,
that
build
is
the factory.
true. And if they lose it, I'm guessing that we're the guarantors of that.
Yeah, that part. I mean, I see it both ways, but they could publicly show rather than just showing off the camp stove and showing it rock crawling. They could do something to show that this isn't a distraction to the people who have money on the line. I mean, like I said, Amazon doesn't care. They've got their contract. They know what it says, and there will be consequences if they aren't met. But how about everybody else? And
has anybody seen pictures of their production line? Do they have stamping machines up and running and robots and all that stuff?
I've seen stuff I shouldn't see of the inside of the factory, and it looks great. So
they're getting close.
Yeah. As a business person, I totally agree with what they're doing. It's just
what's the latest? Is it September? They're supposed to have something.
I have no idea.
I heard end of the year.
I think it was pushed to September.
Oh damn.
Yeah, we'll see.
I hope they succeed. I really do.
Yeah, and despite a lot of
there's a factory that will be cheap in Lordstown, Ohio, pretty soon.
Yes, although GM owns that. If the other guys go under, they're the guarantor.
Yeah. Yay, lucky GM!
I think they did it on purpose.
I would rather have Rivian wait and get it right than rush something out and they have all kinds of problems. So
a recall could kill them.
Move fast, but not stupidly fast.
Thank you. And again, because that's worked for Tesla doesn't mean everybody needs to follow the same model.
Yeah.
And I did worked in quotation marks, didn't I?
Look at their numbers. It has done
worked.
some numbers.
There we go.
Yeah, don't be another Fisker. Don't be Byton.
No.
Sorry, Byton.
That's okay. We got Rivian and Lucid, and I'm fine with that.
Nikola.
And not
Yeah.
Nikola. Oh,
Not
sad
Nikola.
for Nikola.
Not Faraday Future yet. Maybe. We'll see.
The staggering thing about Faraday Future is how that fraud continues to stumble on like a zombie that cannot be killed no matter what part of its corpse you chop off. It is insane that still exists.
Yeah, well, Rivian better hurry, because when the F-150 Lightning comes out, a lot of Ford F-150 owners that they might have courted away are just going to not leave Ford.
I totally disagree.
If they take too long, they'll really only be conquering Land Rover customers.
The R1 cars. Yeah, and there's none of those. Look, the R1T is not a competitor for the F-150 Lightning.
Interesting.
It's a different market.
I'd say there's overlap, but yeah, they are different.
Sure.
Like all three of the trucks that might make it, the R1T, the Cybertruck, and the Lightning, they have overlap, but they are completely different products.
Very, very different products. Yeah. Let's go to Paul for a story.
Yeah. So to counteract Georgia's story about Florida and public transit, I've got a feel-good story.
All right.
And surprisingly, it's about as far away you can get from Florida in the continental U.S. It's a county up in northern Washington state called Whatcom County, who has public transit. And there's one of their towns is a town called Linden, Washington. It's, if you know the area, it's 15 miles north of Bellingham, 5 miles south of the Canadian border. I mean, it is as far away from Florida. But this town of 15,000 people has a bus service called the Linden Hop. And what's cool about the Linden Hop is it's kind of like an Uber, but it's a van. It's a shared van. You download an app, and you can go anywhere in the town of Linden, Washington for $1. So it's like your own private bus anytime you want it for $1. And that's pretty cool, because there are low-income people, I'm sure, that have to get to their jobs, or someone who has one car and their car is broken. So that gives them mobility without paying $15, $20 for an Uber. Let me see if I can share the screen here. But anyway, props to Linden, Washington for the Linden Hop service. Let me see here if I can share this. Here we go.
Uh-oh.
So
Good luck with that.
It's a van. They have their.
Is that a threat?
Are you guys seeing this?
We need Russell to click the show button.
I'm showing it. There we go. There we go.
So
There
it's the Whatcom County Transportation Authority. So it's a shared van, and they have their own app you can download, and $1 a ride. It's wheelchair accessible for anybody who needs that. But I thought that was a really cool idea, and here's their service area. So basically the whole town. So if
like
you live in
subsidized governmental Uber pool.
Right, but instead of having a bunch of bus routes that no one uses or very light uses, they bought a van and an app, and the bus comes to you and takes you to where you got to go. So
and then the schedule, and they don't have to invest in routes that aren't working all the time.
Exactly, and it's dynamic as demand changes. They can reroute it. So hopefully it's successful, and they'll add more vans and help out the lower income service workers, the essential workers that need to get to their jobs. So, so that's pretty cool. And guess what? It's not in Florida.
What if you don't have a smartphone?
So you can go to their website and book it. So I guess if you had to get from home to your workplace and you had a computer at home, you could do it. But yes, smartphone is probably required. Luckily, there are cheap, subsidized smartphones now for almost anybody. And I think people over 75 can ride for free. You can book in advance. You know, it may not be as quick as an Uber if there's other people ahead of you, but if you're willing to share a van with other people, and it's like your own private bus ride. So
yeah,
pretty cool.
Long ago in another life, I spent 6 months in Fort Gordon, Georgia, and the taxis were all if they wanted to service the military base, then any rides on base had to be $1. And then, but then that also allowed them to take you off base, and then they could charge you the normal rates. So getting around on the base, it was easy, and it was a buck a ride. It was really nice.
And that's cool. And then people didn't have to have their own private cars to get
exactly.
around. Yeah.
Yep.
Beautiful.
A lot of the new service people don't have their own cars, or worse, they get predated upon by the car dealership outside the base. So that's a good idea.
Yeah,
I
think there's a million small towns in America that have no public transit or very, very limited transit. They don't have Uber. And how do people get around? I had a customer a week or two ago. His car broke down in Steamboat Springs, which is a pretty good sized town in Colorado. And he decided to have AAA tow his car and then get a flight from the airport. But then he realized there's no taxi service in that town and there's no Uber in that town. So he had to pay some private guy to drive him to the municipal airport in order to get his little, puddle jumper plane back to Denver. So
it was like a car service from the next town over or something?
No, he had to just go up to a guy in a
Hey, I'll give you $20 to get me to the airport.
$20, take me to the local airport. Because he pulled up Uber and it goes, sorry, no service. And then he asked someone, is there a bus service? No bus service here. So, think of all the
taxi. Oh, no taxis.
Yeah. So
that is an opportunity.
Yeah,
it is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
or maybe
cool.
there's a reason there's no service.
If you're paying $1 a ride, who cares? It's
Right. Well, thank you, Paul, for making us feel good. Now, let's go to Patrick Connor, who's going to make us all sad.
Hockey Day has some points there about businesses being able to use that as a courier.
Okay, you get that from the chat? We're moving on?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah. This is from Wired Magazine, and it's titled, Toyota whiffed on EVs. Now it's trying to slow their rise. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I did pull out a few points that I thought were good in this. In a bid to protect its investment in hybrids and hydrogen fuel cells, the car maker is lobbying against the transition to EVs. So there's a whole bunch here. Having spent the last decade ignoring and dismissing EVs, Toyota now finds itself a laggard in the industry that's swiftly moving to electric, not just electrified, but actually truly electric. And just as BlackBerry, I love this line, just as BlackBerry dismissed the iPhone, Toyota has dismissed Tesla and EVs. BlackBerry thought the world needed a physical keyboard for many more years, just as Toyota thinks the world's going to need gasoline for several more decades. They're both wrong. There's just a little bit more, and then we can go into comments, because I'm sure Russell has something to say. Yeah, you never. Toyota's EV efforts have been focused on solid-state batteries. Yes, they promise to be lighter and safer than lithium-ion, but this has proven challenging to manufacture them cost-effectively, just like fuel cells. So interesting that both of their moonshots have missed. And so now they have a losing hand. What do? You try to slow down the technology that's winning. And how do you do that? You put out FUD. We've seen a lot of their anti-EV stuff, and we've talked about it on this show.
Self-charging electric car.
Yeah, and you lobby governments to water down their emission standards and to oppose any fossil fuel phase-outs or bans. And that's exactly what they're doing. As the New York Times reported, over the past couple years, Toyota has more than doubled their PAC investments, and in some cases, to climate deniers and people supporting the, let's just say, the insurgency at the Capitol. So that has flown in their face, and this show kind of started because a lot of us were into Prius way back when, because it was a cool green vehicle. And so why is it that Toyota's not, they're just trying to rest on their laurels and trying to fix the technology in this place where it's profitable for them. And it's really sad to see them doing this shenanigans. There you go. Bringing you down.
Pretty disappointing.
Better, Toyota.
Pretty disappointing.
Yeah, it's so sad because like the original RAV4 EV in 2002 was so
Mhm.
far ahead of its time, and had they kept that development moving along, they would be the Tesla now.
They
And they
would.
lasted so much longer than the Tesla RAV4 EV.
Oh, the Tesla
Yes.
RAV EV is garbage.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like the Toyota ones are tanks.
You're gonna get feedback from that, Casey.
Show me where I lied.
Yeah, those were definitely great EVs for their day from that EV1 era. The RAV4s were some of the best EVs from that generation, and they were even developing things like a range extending trailer. And yeah, they could, if you had just made incremental improvement starting from 2002, it would be incredible by now. But nope, they abandoned that branch, and now they're paying the price.
Yeah, and to me, this is a critical example of what lobbying for bad things. I mean, instead of putting that time and energy into, I don't know, maybe advancing your product line,
Mm-hmm.
here you are trying to make sure that every other company that's willing to do what you're not doesn't have support in government, and they have obstacles. So this has been a very, very bad year for Toyota's PR person, who I'm sure right now has run off with that $6,000 bottle of whiskey that's missing from Ponteo's gift basket from Japan. Somewhere, someone's highly sloshed and trying to figure out what the hell to do next week, because this does not go over well. It doesn't look good, and frankly, it's not just to the consumer. Industry-wise, this is not a good look for Toyota within their own industry, because this is not just, hey, we're competitors, we're all working to win our product lines, but we're not really trying to stop each other from existing. This is Toyota kind of pulling what Walmart does with small businesses by moving into the areas, selling stuff, undercutting their businesses, getting them to close out, and then suddenly pulling out of the area again.
Well, and as Russell said, doing stupid stuff like the Corolla SUV is gas only,
Yeah.
Like, at least make a hybrid if you can't make it an EV. Yeah.
But I mean, imagine if they had just done incremental pushes to the Prius. I mean, not like what they've done. I mean, they've done incremental pushes to it, but like, say,
Right.
the Prius platform would have been a great EV had they said, hey, we've got something that's already half electric. Let's dump the gas and see what we can do with it. Or
Right.
dump the fuel cell and put some batteries in there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a popular size and shape. Yeah, if they had come out with an electric Prius in, I don't know, 2012, that we absolutely would have got that instead of the Leaf, without a question.
Yeah.
And yeah, my wife had a Prius, loved it. That is, she would have stayed loyal to that brand, but they just didn't have what we wanted. They
Same
didn't
here. I would
advance.
have never switched. I would have got a
Yeah.
Volt. I got a daggum Prius EV. Like not 11 miles range Prius Prime, Prius plug-in, whatever they were calling it back then. But like
First generation plug-in, yeah.
Yeah, I mean 100 miles.
No.
They would
Yeah.
have been able to do that easy.
Yep.
Okay, are you ready for some truth?
Well,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Georgia. I did not mean to cut you off.
but I'm just saying that when we look at the executive decisions here, at some point, hydrogen as a choice, I think that became untenable years ago. I mean, it
Not
really
Japan.
was showing that it's cool if you want to be small and you're experimenting with it to try and create something out of it. But honestly, years upon years ago, they should have said, you know what? Maybe we send that to Stan's group down in the basement and they can work on that. We got other things. We got other things that are proving more successful.
Right.
So the quality of leadership here has got to be questioned.
They've
So,
fallen
I
for
think
the
they're-
sunk cost fallacy.
Yep.
Well, that they're going to take us all down with them. Well, I hope the board and shareholders understand something. You might want to pull that leash that you have them on, yank it a little bit. If that's what you're there for. Or Toyota is not going to have the market share it should have, and it used to have.
I'm ready for some truth, Russell.
Yes.
Go for it.
Toyota, like every car company on the planet, wants to sell cars. That's their main goal. That's arguably
and they want to make a profit doing it.
Right.
Well, arguably that's not everyone's goal.
Yeah,
But-
and Rim wanted to sell Blackberries.
Right? So nothing I'm going to say is a defense of Toyota. Nothing. Okay? Not one thing. And if it sounds like a defense to you, you're hearing it wrong, because I've excoriated Toyota in several venues about this issue. I am disappointed. I'm ashamed. I'm humiliated that a company that was once a leader is now at best an undermining follower. That said, they're really in the exact same place everybody else is, which is not a defense of them. It's a realization that, hey, guess what? You're not a leader anymore. You're a bad follower. You're chasing another quarter's profits because that's what you think is the right thing to do. I can't blame any company for wanting to stay in business. I can't blame any company for wanting to make money, because that's the way our system's set up. But I can blame a company that once took a position of leadership and did really good things and audacious things, and now they're just another the automaker alliance of blah blah blah, the secret lobbying group that every car company is in, that wants to deny, that pushes back fuel standards, that pushes back safety standards while they talk about safety and while they talk about fuel efficiency. Every car company except Tesla is in this alliance. Tesla has its own lobbying connections. So, but they all do, they all say one thing on one side of their mouth, whether it's Mary Barra or whoever. They all say one thing and then they do something else behind the scenes, because either way they win. They'll figure it out, and that's their strategy. And you know what? Shame on them.
The biggest disappointment, I guess, is really disappointment. We know they can do better. We've seen them do better. And then I'm not a parent, but it's got to be like looking at your child doing something stupid when you know they're smarter than that.
Yeah. Or they prove that they're not smarter than that, and you have to live with that realization. I don't know.
Like they have a great product like the RAV4 Prime, which they could sell 100,000 in this country. And what are they going to deliver this year? 5,000 maybe?
Yeah, but also keep in mind, Paul, that Toyota's always been limited on sales at the beginning, and then they ramp up over time. So like even the plug-in Prius, it was very limited at the beginning, and in certain places you couldn't even buy it because they weren't offering it in certain states and provinces. But over time they ramped up, and now anyone that wants one can get one, basically. So hopefully the RAV4 will be in that envious position next year. Hopefully.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I mean, you know, with any of these car companies, and again, I'm not saying Toyota's better. They're not. And that's the sad part. They're the same. They're the same shitty capitalist, give me the money this quarter car company that Stellantis and GM and Ford and all the others are. And they could be different, but they choose not to be. Anyway.
Yeah,
that's it. I don't have any. I know that there's somebody who's not drinking very much in the chat right now that wants to be, and I'm sorry for you.
You got a few cheers, so they can still drink in celebration instead of
drink in celebration, my friends. Absolutely. No, it's disappointing, and that's all I got. Anybody else got anything on this?
I like that the story image on that story, Georgia, is a Tesla Roadster with the granny lead.
Just keyword spamming, right?
Yeah.
Oh, look, it's a Tesla Roadster, but it has nothing to do with Tesla. Yeah, but
it's the picture of the story.
Car, but
and it's on the granny lead of all places, the 110 connection.
Yeah. Why not? I got nothing. Let's do some shout outs and go home, because I think we've done our show for this week. I'm going to start with my friend. Thank you, George. I appreciate that. Or are you just trying to shut me up?
No.
That too. Yeah. Well, maybe a little bit. That's okay. You did it nicely. I'm good with that. Let's start with my friend Paul in Boulder. Hey, Paul.
Hey, if you're in Colorado, check us out, boulderhc.com, if you need your hybrid or EV repaired. Actually, interesting story this week. We have a Mercedes B-Class EV with the fabulously crappy Tesla powertrain that's in the RAV Toyota
Jesus.
that has took a crap and have to fix it. But anyway, don't buy one of those cars.
And you have one for sale.
No, we don't have one of those for sale.
Oh, it's in for repair. Okay.
It's in for repair.
I just came in for
But if you need
You're selling it real good here.
Yeah. No.
It's like, damn, Paul.
And the market for used cars is still stupid. So if you don't need to buy a car right now, don't buy one. We took in a really nice 08 Prius yesterday, and within 24 hours it was gone.
Are you serious? An 08?
Yeah. An 08. Wow, it was really nice. Had 75,000 miles on it. But
wow.
If you're in a position to squeeze life out of your existing car and don't need to buy a car, wait, because everything is kind of stupid priced right now and limited selection. So, but if you do need to buy a car, because you need to buy a car, check us out at boulderh.com.
Okay.
Definitely do that. That's where I got my car, and I'm squeezing the life out of it right now. Let's go to Kacey Green.
Over at youtube.com/Kacey Green, I am working on the latest Tesla software update that I received. Obviously, I've heard there's newer ones out there. I didn't give up on the previous ones. They're stacked. They're not cut. I will cut them and everything. I found that my camera I was using for the forward view was just a pain in the butt, so I've decided to change that, and hopefully this one will be quicker than 2 months to achieve. And then, as Russell pointed out, I've got the 6 new superchargers that I visited on this trip, and then all the ones in the back catalog coming out as well over at youtube.com/Kacey Green.
I'm going to start doing supercharger reviews just to mess with you, Kacey.
He's already started, really.
Yeah,
pull up on your scooter and say, none of these fit.
yeah. You're not serving everybody. And I see where it connects to the pole here. So where's the solar power? Yeah, okay.
Where's my adapter, Elon?
Yeah, there we go. Thank you. Do visit and subscribe at Kacey Green's channel, because you need to know what he knows.
Absolutely.
Mr. Connor, what's going on
out there?
Yeah.
Hey, if you have a show title, throw it in the chat. Maybe Russell will pick yours. Come up with something cool, something funny. I'm with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org, and I blog occasionally at carswithcords.net.
Is that it? You didn't even give me time to type a derisive message into the chat. Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate that. And do visit Patrick's thing. Even though he's wrong about half the time, he's always good to argue with. So do visit carswithcords.net. Speaking of my friend who's good to argue with, Mr. Mark Coughlin, what's going on in your world?
Well, I would certainly like to say, if you're watching this program at this point, please give us a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to What Drives Us, press that subscribe button, because it's not getting any cheaper. So you may as well do it now. And I would also have to say, if you'd like to follow us through the week, you can follow us on all the socials. Just look up What Drives Us. We're all those different places. All you need to do is look us up and follow or click or whatever, and we'll be there helping you out through the week. And have yourself a great week.
I want to interject. If you see the button down below, the subscribe button is not gray. Click on it, make it gray. And then next to the subscribe button is a button that says join. If you're interested in some special content for a small fee, you can join and click on that. It'll tell you what you can get at each level. And,
sexy content.
And then you can get some of the content, and it's optional. But
Russell, you're telling us your OnlyFans link? What's going on?
That's what drives the scam. I've got an OnlyFans site. Who wants to? Nobody. Nobody. In fact, you know what? It's like the reverse scam. You'll pay me to never post pictures. Okay, then you'll never see. Yeah, that's a threat that would motivate me, actually.
Certainly. And then also, I wanted to call out Hockey Day and thank for the Canadian $6.99. It's appreciated.
Absolutely. Thank you, Hockey Day. And everybody, JT and everybody in the chat, thanks so much for being there and just cheering us on and making fun of me. Thank God for all of you. And I hope I'm not responsible for any alcoholism. Okay.
I can drink water.
I'm not trying to do this on purpose.
You can die from water poisoning too, though.
Yeah.
Russell, that would be a pretty negative show.
Yeah. Have you seen me? Yeah. Let's go to someone who's not negative. Georgia.
I'm reasonably negative.
Oh, I like to think of you as positive. Drinking Tang. That shit'll kill you, man. You need to get some Powerade or something.
Hopefully,
yes, Georgia, I'm sorry.
No worries. Thank you guys for joining us. And you know what to do. Hit like, hit subscribe. Hit join if you really want to see those secret pictures of Russell. And head over to Kacey's channel, hit like and subscribe. Head on over to Tesla Life, hit like and subscribe because we got all that great content to enjoy.
My shoulder's too much for Kacey Green.
Russell's naughties.
Acting, Russell. It's acting.
It's actually just going to be shots of Russell praising Tesla.
That would be worth money. Yeah.
That is his OnlyFans link, babes.
That's my OnlyFans link. I show you all my Elon tattoos.
No refunds.
Just going to whisper sweet.
I want my 699 back. I'm sorry, Hockey Day. Yeah. That's actually a common reaction. Yeah. I don't blame you.
That's what she said.
What's that, Patrick?
It's the light.
Touch magic controller. Oh,
like, for your light. Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
I was going to say
touch magic controller.
You don't want to do any touch magic on this show. All right.
That's also on Russell's OnlyFans.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to demonstrate the touch magic controller after the show. So. They're
ridiculously bad.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Hockey Day. Still no refunds. Georgia, thank you so much for trying to bring some sanity to an otherwise insane outro. As always, I want to thank Michael Manring for our theme music. Visit him at manthing.com. Do buy something, a song, an album, something. Just support him because he supports the show. I want to thank Paul Guzik, Patrick Connor, Mark Coughlin, Kacey Green, and Georgia McKenzie for being the best panel that doesn't get paid a damn thing every week and shows up anyway and does great work. Thank you so much, all of you.
I want my share of that $6.99
It's going for sexy lingerie for my OnlyFans site.
Oh no!
I think you'd be the first one, Coughlin.
You can't stop yourself now, Russell.
No, I can't. Yeah, $6.99. What does $6.99 even buy you? Like
it covers costs on the show. This software isn't free now.
Well, yeah.
It can give me a ride in Linden, Washington.
Yeah, 7 bus rides in Linden, Washington.
There you go.
Could go.
Thank you so much. So thanks to all of you for watching the show. You folks are the reason we do it. Thanks again. Tune in next week and find out what drives us.
Stay positive, test negative.
Look for my OnlyFans soon.